Bangladeshis have marked 1 year since autocratic Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled the country in a helicopter to India after weeks of nationwide student-led protests in which Hasina ordered police to use lethal weapons. The UN estimates at least 1,400 people were killed and 20,000 wounded. Hasina is currently being tried in absentia in Bangladesh's Domestic Crimes Tribunal for crimes against humanity. For more, we are joined by Shireen Huq, who is a founding member of women's rights group Naripokkho. Good evening, Shireen. It's been a year since the uprising against and ouster of Sheikh Hasina. How was this marked in Bangladesh?
The anniversary has been marked with celebrations everywhere, not only in the capital, but almost everywhere. And it's been marked with concerts and discussion meetings and of course, most importantly, the declaration of the July declaration, which was announced yesterday afternoon by the chief advisor. So it's been a very eventful day. And on the whole, I felt there was not enough balance between celebration and reflection. There was a lot of celebration, but I think it was also time for some serious reflection, which didn't happen.
So in terms, you mentioned reflection. What do you mean by that?
I suppose what I mean is that maybe it was time to interrogate some of the inconsistencies between what aspirations were expressed during July, August last year and what we have seen since. And some of those aspirations were clearly about justice, about reforms, and also elections, yes. Now, of course, the election date has been, not date, but the month has been announced. So we'll have elections next February. And there have been 11 reform commissions which have submitted their recommendations, including one which I was heading, which was the Reform Commission on Women. And we submitted our recommendations last April 19th of April. But we are not seeing enough energy or effort put into the implementation of the reforms. Now, I totally understand that everything's not going to happen overnight. Things are not going to change overnight. But when we formulated our recommendations, we were aware of that. So we made recommendations in 3 terms. Recommendations which we felt were doable under the interim government, and then recommendations which we consider desirable, but which will have to be agreed upon by the next elected government, with whoever that is. And thirdly, what women have always wanted, what women's dreams have been, especially the dreams of the women's movement, which there is no time frame for. Because we don't know how much support there will be for that.
Now, what's the feeling like on the ground? There's an interim government installed and life appears to have returned to normal. Are things better than they were under Hasina?
Definitely. Although there are problems that this government has a huge task of restoring order. Restoring financial stability, restoring education, restoring healthcare. So this government has had huge challenges. And I feel sometimes it's unfair at the amount of frustration and being expressed, especially on the net by citizens. And also, the Awami League, the party that Hasina represented, they may have gone underground temporarily, but they are active on the net. So there's a lot of stirring up criticism against the Yunus government, and I feel some of that is unfair, but unfortunately, some of the failures are creating anxiety, especially law and order. And I have found that many of my women colleagues and friends are saying that women's safety actually has gone down. that women do not feel safe, especially about being out in public places, and especially after dark. And so this is something that is a great disappointment, because women played a huge role in the demonstrations and the protests that led to the resignation of Hasina, and especially women students played a huge, huge role. And they were out on the streets, they were protesting, they were facing bullets, and they have sacrificed a huge amount. So it was expected that there would not only be more, that the government will have a more women's representation. Initially, it was shocking that only 4 women were appointed as advisors in the advisory council. So we see that the uprising, which some people like to refer to as a revolution, and it's definitely not a revolution, because fundamentally many things have not changed. So male dominance is intact, misogyny is unchallenged, and especially the experience that we went through in the Women's Reform Commission. After our report was made public, we faced a huge, huge backlash from, especially from one of the Islamic groups, and they wanted that our report should be thrown into the trash bin, and I should also be thrown into the trash bin along with that. Mm-hmm. So this kind of reaction I did not get enough. I did not get much support at all from any of my fellow commissioners except Labour, and not a peep out of the Chief Advisor's office, who had appointed the commissions, who had appointed me to lead this commission. Mm. So this was very disappointing. But I would still say, on the whole, this interim government has performed, I think, reasonably well, given the constraints, given the kind of anarchic situation that has prevailed at that time. The government has done its best, I would say. It has done its best, and it has delivered on many things. It's certainly delivered on macroeconomic management. The central bank has done well in terms of debt repayment, also in terms of fiscal stability. Mm. So there are many good things that have happened, but the one thing that the government has not been able to deliver on is law and order. Mm. And that affects the ordinary citizen, the ordinary woman, the ordinary man.
Yeah. Shireen, I just want to stay with the election. Just lastly, you mentioned it's been called for or announced for February next year. Do you think this will be free and fair?
I think the government will put in its maximum efforts to make sure that it's free and fair, and that international standards are met. However, the government will have to rely on the bureaucracy to deliver on a good election. And the bureaucracy remains the same. And, this is a bureaucracy that has served Hasina for 15 plus years. And although there has been some reshuffling, you would have to actually get rid of 15 layers of the bureaucracy to get rid of that Hasina influence, that Awami League influence. Mm. So this is where I worry whether the bureaucracy will cooperate or not.
Shireen Huq, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.